Yeah, it's really one of the juiciest parts of the story. And maybe this part, more than everything else, demonstrates how perplexed we are with respect to the story, because usually we relate to it as some historic story, and when we come to the 10 plagues, it doesn't exactly go hand in hand with the scientific rationale, and there are different approaches to it. The traditional approach that says, yes, it happened word to word, all the 10 plagues. There's the more scientific approach trying to find biological and ecological explanations for how did these blows come in a row back then. And there is an approach that says it's a story, it's a myth, never happened. We don't know. For us, it remains a secret, but maybe this Passover, with your help, we'll be able to understand what's standing behind this story, and we'd like to ask you, what is your attitude towards the story of the 10 plagues? So you're not asking about the 10 plagues, you're asking about all the stories of the Torah. Is the Torah telling us about things that are happening in this world? So first of all, of course, not. Straightforwardly and decisively not. The world wasn't created 5 or 6,000 years ago, and not from Adam, the first man who was created out of water and sand and some dust, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we're not searching for Noah's Ark and for his generations and Ham and Yefet and all those, and in general, nothing. Nothing. Take the book of Torah, isolate it, the Torah, from this world. It belongs to the higher world, the upper world. It belongs to something that has no connection, nothing to do with our matter. It doesn't exist in our world. And if it says that not in the heavens but on the earth, the meaning is with respect to man, that he has to do it, that he has to realize it, he has to implement the entire story of the Torah on himself, including the 10 plagues, of course, including everything from beginning to end. He has to be born as Adam Arishon, the first man, feel all these things, experience them. He has to be like in the generation of the flood and in the generation of Babylon, and to come out of Babylon onto the land of Canaan and Egypt, and this entire story, he has to go through it to its very end, everyone. And it says about that every person has to write the book of Torah for himself, that each and every letter it means a sign or a form, or more correctly put, a quality, where each and every quality of his has to be formed according to the letters of the Torah, according to the 22 letters. What does it mean? It means that a person has to correct himself, program himself exactly according to the flow of the letters in the Torah. Now, mentioning Passover, then the same goes for Passover. It's not about the pyramids or Tutankhamun or Nefertiti and all these other things that were there. They existed before our people and after. In short, don't tie these things with a historic story at all. We're not Hollywood, we're studying about the truth. And therefore, once and for all, we have to determine that the story of the Torah was written only out of the inner states that we have to undergo. And here, like we talked about Egypt, and sometimes I make a comparison, I draw a parallel for it to be a bit more figurative, because otherwise I have to rise to such a level that a person has no grasp of. He's not there. And if we're talking about the Nile, the alligators, the Moses that was taken out of the Nile, and the house of Pharaoh, and the crown on the head, a bit more figurative. It gives a person a simple little grasp, and then within that story, he can already see deeper matters. But the truth is that it has nothing to do with Pharaoh, it has nothing to do with the Nile or with anything else. So why does it seem as natural phenomena? It's not natural phenomena, and the 10 plagues surely aren't natural phenomena either. All the blood, frogs, lice, so on. No, not at all. But because we were created in the will to receive, egoistic will to receive, which is called in order to receive, where everything that we do is only in our own favor, for our own benefit. And if we do something good for someone else, it's because we want to do it, because we will feel good as a result, and therefore we do it. And if, for lack of any other options, I have to do something for someone else where I myself don't want to do it, then I'm obligated through blows or something. If you don't do good to him, I'll give you a blow. So I don't want a blow. I do something good to him, but it doesn't mean that I am doing something good to that person, but it means that for lack of choice, I do something nonetheless in my own favor. And this is how we're built. So this is one thing. Another thing, because we're reaching a state where our will to receive, this egoistic desire, we have to lift up above it to reach a different kind of existence, which is love thy neighbor as thyself, as the Torah demands. Meaning to rise above our ego onto love and bestowal. So there's a very special process here, because first of all, I have to reach a state where I feel that my ego is bad for me, it's against me. That suppose I steal, so I get beatings. So I learn from it that it's not worthwhile stealing. If I can steal and not get beatings, then yes. But if I see that systematically I'm getting caught and getting beaten, then I stop stealing. This is how you teach a person. This is how we all learn from life. There are people that can learn not through beatings, but by being told in advance. Mom tells me, it's not worthwhile doing, my dear child. You'll grow up to be a good and nice child. You won't get blows. Everyone will respect you. And I listen to mom, suppose I have the ability, the possibility to listen to mom. And then I correct myself, meaning I can either correct myself through blows or through good advice. Through blows, it's called the path of suffering. Through advice, it's called the path of Torah. Torah also means in Hebrew instructions or advice, what the Torah advises us to do, and this is how we can advance. Now, actually, when do I become needy of it? And there are two paths before me. From the moment that I start feeling that I can do this or that, good or bad. And then I'm on a crossroads. When did this happen to us? It happened to us for the very first time in Babylon, where our ego became truly great. I'm talking about humanity, became very big. And we wanted to rise with that ego to the skies and really confront God. Who's stronger? The second time, this ego grew in Egypt. And in Egypt, Pharaoh said, who's the creator that I should listen to him? I'm stronger. Pharaoh symbolizes our ego. That's how he's called. Pharaoh, it's not the Pharaoh that was sitting back then on the chair like this, but it's our ego, which is called Pharaoh, that says what? It says, who is the creator that I should listen to him? Don't want to follow his advice. I want to follow what I feel like a bad kid. What does it mean to follow his advice? The advice of the creator. Yes. It means to invest ourselves in love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. This is the great rule of the Torah.